Now, this is part 3 of the StableSwap launch videos that I've been going over. And today I'm going to go over some tweets from DecentraliseMe and 99 Capital. So 99 Capital has been pretty much the GOAT when it comes to research. So he's been in the trenches from day one with pDAI, and DecentraliseMe has appeared somewhere within the last few months, and his video was even in Matty Allen's Pulsechain conference. So there's a lot of hype around the whole pDAI narrative, and the StableSwap launch has re-kicked off the pDAI narrative and all the hype around it. Now, just like all things, I'm not coming to you and saying this is a certainty. Definitely, this is definitely what it is. The evidence is a 100% factual. For me, it's just like every single other investment thesis that I would have. There's no certainties in life. There's no 100% guarantees, but you formulate a thesis based on the evidence that you're presented and you make up your own mind. So all I'm doing with you today is sharing the tweets. I'm not telling you that I fully understand it because, to be quite frank, I don't. These guys are like way in the trenches with exploring the blockchain, and I haven't done that level, that depth of exploration, but I still want to share it with you guys. So I'm going to read those tweets, share it. Some people like to hear it, some people like to read it. So I'll also link all the tweets in the description below. And we're going to start off by looking at the pDAI chart and how it's boomed since StableSwap. So let's get into it now. And thank you to everyone who has done the research, because you guys, I'm not that smart, unfortunately. So if we have a look here, pDAI. So pDAI is looking extremely good. So DAI stablecoin, we have had an 86% drop. In the previous bear cycle for DAI stablecoin, we had a 91.61% drop. Are we going to go as low as 90%? Who knows? A lot of people are saying now we're entering into the bull phase. Some people, well, I mean, this triggers people, but for me, honestly, my big wish is, if we are going to run for the next 12 months in a bull market, I want everything in Pulsechain to stay down for 11 months, and then bang, in that last month, we take off. That is the way that you maximize the amount of tokens that you get and you maximize your gains. But not everybody, but people get upset when I say these things. It's just my own personal perspective. It's not, I don't have the influence to basically say, oh, I want it to go lower and it's going to go lower. So yeah, just bear that in mind. That's just my own personal perspective. I want it to stay low so I can keep accumulating more. It's as simple as that. Having said that, this is a 100-day moving average on the daily. And, these things are not 100% accurate. As you can see in this period here, it went above the 100-day moving average. And really, it's very simple. When it's above or below the line, it's bullish or bearish, or it's a confirmed bullish or bearish. It is very slow, so it's a lagging indicator because it takes 100. So when you have, just so you guys understand, with indicators, the length 100, what it's doing is it's reading the last 100 candles. And I know, for example, Moon King loves the 300-day moving average. So you can even go the 300-day moving average, but obviously it's only starting to produce results here, because you can see for the last 300 candles, it's taking this data and saying, okay, this is the way that it's going now. So even on the 300, if you really zoom in, it's really getting close to breaking through that 300. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's 100% guaranteed a bull. That's what technical analysis is all about. It's all about predictions and maximizing your chances of getting it right through prediction. And that's the same as all the evidence that we're gathering in relation to pDAI. Okay, so yes, pDAI has basically almost had a 100% pump from the bottom. StableSwap launched here the other day. So we've had basically a 90%, 80 to 90% run. So amazing. The whole hype is there. The energy there is there. All the people have started to come back out of the woodworks. And honestly, people will say you should never trade or invest based on feelings. And this is not something that I agree with at all. Actually, I really do invest on feeling. I think there's a difference between emotion and the fear and the greed, and you act against that. You act against those like impulses, those kind of like monkey mind impulses. But there are deeper feelings and convictions that you have about certain things. So if I have conviction about something and I follow that conviction, it always seems to work out. And this is the kind of conviction that I have with pDAI. But also on the same front, I also see and try and observe, if I trust that intuition in myself, that conviction, I trust it so much that I even try and observe it in others. And I use that as a gauge to see, okay, just how accurate my convictions are. So yes, with all the conviction that's surrounding pDAI, for me, it's like, yeah, it's crazy not to want to be involved in it. And also from the perspective of how good it can be for Pulsechain to have its own completely disconnected stablecoin. All the pStables, if they become stable, it's really just the best thing for crypto. It's the best goddamn narrative on the planet right now. And nobody outside of Pulsechain knows it. And even people within Pulsechain barely even know it. So yeah, pDAI rocketing again, the convictions all over again. All right, so now let's get back into this. DecentraliseMe. So we'll start with DecentraliseMe. So today, Richard launched StableSwap on Pulsechain. So this was obviously a few days ago. I bookmarked all these tweets and I wanted to get to this at this particular time. We knew it was coming. He added pDAI, pUSDT, pUSDC to Curve, the AMM of StableSwap a long time ago. When he surfaces pDAI and the other fork stables, it's go time. pDAI is moving into the I told you so period. So everyone is going to love rubbing it in each other's faces, but yeah, let's do our best to stay humble. I still think humility is the best way to approach these things. But let's have a listen to this little clip from DecentraliseMe, because he's got some great videos. He's got a YouTube channel. If you're really into the pDAI narrative, I would strongly recommend going to check his stuff out. His stuff is way better than my stuff. I'm more just like a reporter. So, okay, let's have a look at this little clip.
Now there's the Curve protocol. It's another protocol used for the provision of liquidity, making a market. And it specializes in facilitating trades between stablecoins. It's particularly good at executing orders quickly between assets that are closely priced. Here we see USDC drops by 5%, so we put $100 in, then when the price returned to $1, we now have $105. Excellent, we've successfully arbitraged USDC. Interestingly, the person who deployed PulseX on testnet v4, Richard and or his team, forked PancakeSwap StableSwap contracts, which is the front-end implementation of Curve Finance. And Richard has been adding liquidity to Curve over on Pulse. Is Richard going to create arbitrage opportunities between pStables, PRC20s, and their ERC20 counterparts? Is he planning to pump popular PRC20s to begin the ecosystem's move upwards? And will he release farms to incentivize the provision of that liquidity? It certainly looks like it. And once he gets those PRC20s and pStables to parity, could he collateralize the PMaker vaults with them? And now we come to our final section.
Okay, so even on this little portion here, he's using Canva. I figured out that he's using Canva now as well. Cool. So I was showing in the video the other day. So just this, I'll just...
Then when the price returned to $1, we now have $105.
So the arbitrage will stabilize it. So in my video the other day on part 2, so you can go check that out, I was showing how this kind of mechanism and putting the 3 pStables together in a pool can actually bond all the tokens together. So the way that I'm kind of imagining it in my mind is basically a lot of it is relying on pDAI. This is where the strongest narrative is. So there's all these protocols like Curve, then there's the MakerDAO, there's all these different protocols that have been forked onto Pulsechain, which people are speculating that Richard has taken control over. I'm not going to tell you yes or no, because this is really a massive point of contention, because people who are Richard Heart maxis, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them whatsoever, by the way. And this is why I think we should also empathize with these people as well. They have grown up in an environment in cryptocurrency where they've been scammed. They found Richard Heart and they've fully devoted and trust Richard Heart. So whatever he says and any product that he releases is what they fully 100% trust. And I don't blame that. And I completely admire them for sticking to those values. So for then people to say, okay, this is Richard Heart, it's going to poke them, because you can speculate and guess that it is Richard Heart, but it's like saying the OA is Richard Heart. And this is a dangerous game that I don't personally want to get involved in. I just think whatever it is, that is the OA, whatever it is, that is a sacrifice, whatever it is, that is the big holders, something, someone, whoever it is, or whatever it is being shown to control MakerDAO, Curve, and all these protocols. And this is a very, very interesting point. And they're showing the evidence. They're showing the blockchain data. So just bear all that in mind. So the way that I'm imagining this whole thing happening is pDAI is the one that it all relies on. So it's kind of like as the prices come up and then pDAI gets towards that $1 mark, then somehow it connects with these protocols and it all then relies on pDAI being locked into the protocols to stabilize that $1. And then through pDAI, all the other pStables can get locked in to pDAI through the arbitrage in the same way that it was being shown there, through creating fat, massive liquidity pools like another pStable StableSwap kind of scenario. So this is the way that I'm thinking about it. This is the way that I've been imagining it. And that would only just be one mechanism. It's like all these mechanisms are contributing to it. If it just relies on one thing and one thing fails, you've got a point of failure. But if you have multiple ways, multiple areas that are keeping it pegged, that are keeping it stabilized to help maintain that parity, that's exactly what you would want to do, because it minimizes any external risks. And this is something that's very important. All right. So now let's get back into the tweets, more DecentraliseMe tweets. Okay, Richard just moved USDC from Ethereum and pDAI from MakerDAO and paired them in the Curve AMM, so the automatic market maker for the newly released StableSwap on PulseX. So he's showing the transactions here, and he's been tracking these wallets, and he's basically suggesting that this is definitely Richard Heart. And again, I don't want to say definitely or not because it's going to trigger people. So you guys make that decision. But this is what people want. The reason why people want to know that it's Richard is because it gives them a level of certainty. Because obviously, yeah, Richard is, we have no expectations, but still we really trust Richard, right? There's a lot of people that trust Richard. So when you put Richard's name to it, there's that trust factor that people have in it. So just bear that in mind. So millions have been added of Ethereum stables with pDAI. So he's showing all the addresses here, all the he's showing it on Debunked. You can scroll through and see the transactions here. Keep that alpha coming. Yeah, baby. So obviously some people, it's a display area on Debunked. So there's like teams of people doing this who are actually, yeah, there's teams of people doing this. And, you know, even, I mean, when you've got the crypto kings who have been all over this narrative, it's just little bits like that where it's like, the evidence, like, you know, these guys who are complete goats in cryptocurrency, when they're also speculating as well, it gives me that conviction. Because again, my whole mindset is like, okay, I want to emulate and learn from the best. And these guys are the best. Ian, Moon King, shout out to you guys. Love you guys. So DecentraliseMe. This post I shared earlier with the crosspair eStable pStable is a glitch in Debunked that shows DAI as pDAI. What we are actually seeing is Richard Heart adding pStables directly into Curve protocol over on Pulsechain. Yes, Richard is filling the pDAI and pStables pools over on Curve, the AMM for StableSwap, which launched with eStables yesterday as we speak. So he's showing the evidence that pStables are filling up the protocol on Curve, so the forked protocol, so the P protocol, the PRC copy. So again, I'm going to share the tweets in the description below if you guys want to have a look at that in more depth. Now, the GOAT, 99 Capital. So Mr. 99 Capital, who's been on this on day one, and his research has helped many people have the conviction in pDAI. So resharing this given StableSwap. If Richard Heart is connecting PulseX into pCurve, then all of the research showing Richard Heart controlling Pulsechain Maker, Pulsechain Curve, Pulsechain Balancer, Pulsechain AAVE is more definitive than ever. Make no mistake, Richard Heart is about to revolutionize DeFi. pDAI is inevitable. Pulsechain. So now we're going to go into this tweet from 99 Capital. So this is from April. So he's been doing research. If you're not following, if you're into pDAI and you're not following 99 Capital, you absolutely 100% need to follow 99 Capital. So yeah, he follows me. Thanks, 99 Capital. So the balancer, curve, and UU pools for pUSDT, pUSDC, pDAI continue to grow. I believe Richard Hart is using these pools to leverage and trade pStables. So the curve pool has 2.1 million, the balancer pool has 0.3 million, and UU Lend has 2.5 million. I found these pools via Richard Hart's 2,822 wallets, which showed UU Lend to unpack many of his early tokens. He is still an owner. Pulsechain doesn't seem to UU Lend in his token holdings, though. It is mysteriously hidden. Go figure. Now, in terms of this, the 2,822 wallets, first of all, holy shit, the diligence of this guy to actually be tracking and looking at these kinds of things, I really admire that level of diligence. The second thing is, again, I don't want to say it's Richard or it's not, no expectations, all that kind of stuff, and even the OA with Hex. But I don't know, have you guys seen the highest of stakes? In the highest of stakes, there was a guy, what was the, Nomics, was it Nomics? I think it was Nomics. One of the coin, it was a coin ranking site, and Hex was actually shown properly there. And the guy, the founder of that, one of the things, like he was actually very neutral to Hex until he started looking into the OA, and there was all these wallets. And so he was, that switched him off, and he's like, oh, there's all these wallets and the OA is just trying to like spread out. We don't know where all that Hex is going. And it's like, hang on a minute. That's actually an incredibly powerful protective mechanism for Hex. If all the OA, the OA is designed to protect the price of Hex. So if all of that 90% or whatever it is of Hex is stored in just one wallet, your point of failure is one point of failure. If that gets hacked, GG, game over for Hex. But if that, if those funds are spread through thousands of wallets, there is no single point of failure. So then when I see this and I see there's 2,822 wallets that he's tracking, it's like, okay, I can buy into that. It's just connecting all these little dots in my mind. There's no certainty. There's no 100%. It just connects dots in my mind. So then it's up to you guys as well to connect those dots in your own mind and make up your own mind. But for me, I see it as evidence. So unfortunately, with my new baby, congratulations, 99 Capital. So this was back in April. So congratulations to you, your wife, and your baby. Time is limited to write this up and dig. So would love some help from the community to get all of these pools added. So I'm going to share this in case anyone likes doing this sort of stuff. Okay, now let's conclude all of this with DecentraliseMe's tweet. So some pDAI FAQs. There are 22 billion pDAI in circulation. That means you need 33 billion. Oh, I did not know this. I mean, I didn't know there was 22 billion in circulation, and obviously 33 billion to over collateralize because you need the 150%, but shout out to 33. Isn't that too much? So Richard sacrificed $62 billion worth of Hex to himself and minted the majority of the Pulsechain and Pulsex supply. He has 140 trillion Pulsex and 120 trillion Pulse. When he pumped Pulsechain by his own admission at will in March of this year to 0.0002 for Pulse, his Pulse was worth 24 billion. Pulsex got to 0.0001 and his Pulsex was worth 14 billion. That is 38 billion and doesn't take into account ink or Hex. Why would Richard just give all that money away? Richard is able to over-collateralize the P-Maker vaults with Pulse and PulseX. Also, this, I believe, is where the Atropa ecosystem can also contribute to collateralization of any of these kinds of vaults. Richard is the largest holder of pDAI. We estimate he owns up to half of the supply. Once he pegs pDAI, he is able to begin a virtuous cycle of pumping Pulsechain's price with the pDAI that's now worth $1. That then increases the value of the Pulse in the vaults, meaning he can increase his loan size / minting more pDAI, which can use to pump the price of Pulsechain. Now, again, all of this, a lot of this value is quote unquote fake value. So this has been one of the criticisms against pDAI, and I've been seeing recent tweets about the criticism against the Atropa ecosystem and pDAI and how much liquidity is actually there and why this is a major flaw and why this basically debunks everything that's happening with pDAI. I don't agree with that because there isn't a single cryptocurrency on the planet which the liquidity matches the market cap. Even Bitcoin, the day number one. Yes, at the moment, what is it worth? Like a $50,000. So whatever the market cap is, there isn't that much liquidity in it. If everybody goes and sells it, there's only going to be a certain percentage of the people who actually own Bitcoin who are going to be able to excel and extract that liquidity out of it, because the liquidity in the market cap never matches. And this is why Richard talks about market cap being a fake metric. And so when people use this idea to debunk the pDAI and the Atropa ecosystem, I completely don't agree. I think they're just doing exactly what everything else is doing. The difference is with the Atropa ecosystem, for example, the liquidity web with all this fake liquidity is actually creating a cushion to help stabilize those products and those different assets within that web, so the prices can fluctuate within that. So I've actually shown that in this video. And again, it's just me speculating, not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just me learning as I go. So you can check that video out as well. Now, let's continue with this. Now, page 2, pDAI pegging facts. Oh, pegging is, yeah, don't look up pegging. A wallet ending, a wallet ending 2822 is identifiable as Richard. So yeah, when I found these pools via RH's 2822 wallet. Okay, so not Richard Hart's 2,822 wallet. So my mistake. But I do know that 99 Capital in some of his past researches, you can check out the breakdown that I did of that. He was basically showing all these different wallets that were connected to Richard, or what he was speculating is connected to Richard. So a wallet ending 2822 is identifiable as Richard's, as it sacrificed 5.2 billion at the worst possible price, 0.001 for Pulse and PulseX. So people are saying this is Richard's wallet. So this was when we were going through the sacrifice phase, there was at the very, very end, whoever controls the OA. So this is why I don't like saying it's Richard, because it was actually the OA. It wasn't Richard. So we don't know whether the OA is Richard or not. So this wallet coordinated the takeover of pMaker, the protocol that governs pDAI, with 2 other wallets. They ultimately accumulated enough pMaker tokens to cast a vote to take over the pMaker protocol. A sacrificed treasury wallet deposited $4 million of pUSDC into the pMaker during testnet. At the time of this deposit, it minted 4 million pDAI, which means pDAI was $1 at the time. The pMaker vaults are continually being collateralized. And this is where DecentraliseMe was showing that evidence here that they're being continuously collateralized. Now, finally, on the GOAT, 99 Capital, Richard Hart is taking the best software from Ethereum and integrating it into Pulsechain. pDAI is our native stablecoin. A deep and fungible stable pool allows eStable holders to benefit from yields, while pStable holders benefit from liquidity and a lack of impermanent loss. Genius. So this has been one of the things that I've been focusing on from day one. Yield generating, liquidity providing. I've got videos on liquidity providing and how to provide liquidity if you want to check that out. And people, again, are trying to debunk it because they're trying to say that there's too much in circulation for people to actually take it out. But that's based on the assumption that people are going to exit Pulsechain in this bull market. Now, I can't speak for anybody. I can't speak for anybody's perception. But if what we're doing here on Pulsechain is building a truly decentralized financial system, what need is there to extract liquidity out? What need is there to take liquidity out? If the bear market is the best time to put it into stable coins, and let's just say pDAI pegs to $1, and everyone's saying, well, if it pegs to $1, there's not enough liquidity in there to take it all out. Where are people taking it out? This is the part that I'm not understanding in people's arguments. If it pegs to $1 and we enter into a bear market, where am I taking my profit into? I want to convert my profits into that pDAI, into that stable coin. Why would I take it out? I want to sit it there. I want to create liquidity. I want to generate more tokens. I don't need to take it out. Of course, yeah, if you want to buy something, then you're going to sell your stable assets and convert it into your fiat currency. But why would you be taking out your stable assets? If the bear market hedge is to put it into stable assets, why would you be dumping the price of pDAI? Why would you be selling a stable coin for what? Another stable coin? It doesn't make any logical sense. So again, I can't speak for everybody, and I do agree with their perspective that there isn't going to be enough liquidity for everybody to just take it out. If everybody all of a sudden says, you know what, there's a mass exodus of Pulsechain. So this is one of those like impossible scenarios that Richard talks about. If that actually happens, it's like, well, that's it's the same with Bitcoin. Okay, what if Bitcoin goes to zero? What if Pulsechain does that? What if everybody in Pulsechain goes, you know what, I'm out of here? There's not enough liquidity in there for every single holder to get their value back in return. It's really as simple as that. So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with all of the cryptos. So why people create that as a point of negativity towards pDAI and the Atropa ecosystem, it doesn't make any sense to me. So this is just my perspective. This is just my opinion. And again, as I talk about these things, I feel very confident. I have a lot of conviction. It just flows. It feels comfortable. And that's what I base my convictions on. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. I try to be as neutral as possible. I try to be as agnostic as possible, but really I am definitely leaning towards wanting it to peg, because I see that as being the greatest narrative in all of cryptocurrency. I see, if this happens, we have created a truly decentralized financial system that doesn't rely on anything else that happens out there. If DAI stablecoin goes to shit outside in the real world, or in the rest of cryptocurrency, doesn't matter. We've got our pDAI, which is completely disconnected from it. It won't matter. If Tether, if USDC, doesn't matter. We've got our own stable coins, our own copied stable coins within our own ecosystem, with all this collateral that's backing it up. And again, it's not going to be real liquid collateral. It's going to be all this fake collateral, which actually makes it easier to keep that collateral and maintain that collateral. To me, it's just like, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. I want to find the flaws, and I try and be as objective as possible, and I try and read people's perspectives. But a lot of it, yeah, I can see where they're coming from, but they're using arguments that can be applied to literally every single cryptocurrency. And a lot of them are maxis, and that's where they're coming from. And again, it's like, well, if you want to talk about that, then you can use that same argument against Hex. That was the biggest flaw with Hex. Okay, yeah, we got up to 50 cents, but not everybody was able to take out millions of dollars. Not everybody was able to capitalize. As soon as a few whales start to dump, the whole price starts to go down, because there's only this much liquidity compared to this much market cap. And it's exactly the same with Atropa. It's exactly the same with pDAI. It's exactly the same with Bitcoin. It's exactly the same with everything in cryptocurrency. So for me, that is a non-argument. And I still basically want this to happen, because I believe it's going to be a revolution. That's what I believe. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah, that for me, the evidence keeps mounting, and I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. The community's fantastic. You guys are fantastic. And yep, there's going to be haters. There's going to be doubters. But because my channel is all about mindset, I can't control anybody. I can't tell anybody what to do. But at the end of the day, if you... Let me get this actually. I'm going to read this. Because I always read these things, and it always reaffirms my own mind. Because again, for me, one of my biggest concerns is for the people who are anti. Let's just say, if you are someone who's like fudded the shit out of pDAI, and you're like, no, it's a scam, it's a joke, and you have all these followers who believe in you, and it does end up pegging, and it does end up being this thing that happened. And let's just say like Richard was behind it all along. Those people who trusted that person who said it's full of shit, they're going to be really pissed off at that person. And my heart goes out to those people. I'm really concerned for those people more than anything. So even for us, if we can really, the people who are in the pDAI, again, I can't make anyone do anything. I can't change anybody's mind, but really let's try and maintain that level of compassion, that level of empathy, and really try to be there for the people, and just with arms wide open, but also with the knowledge that if everybody was accepting this, then it minimizes your opportunity. So this is the thing. So in any case, how to treat others. Treat others with ease so as not to burden them. Instead of forcing what you have to say on others, listen carefully to what they say and accept their opinions. Always treat others with the mind that has become truth, and without any expectations. Talk about their strengths, not about their weaknesses or wrongdoings. Embrace what others say and do. If you treat others with the big mind of truth, which is absent of mind, They will always like you. Therefore, you should throw away your false mind and find the true mind. So I'll leave it with that. That concludes the 3-part series of the StableSwap. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I hope it was able to deliver some kind of value. Again, I'm no expert. I'm sitting here learning with the rest of you guys, and I'm just presenting it to you. And as I present it, I learn, and we learn together. So with that, take care. Have a lovely weekend.